Hello, everybody, and welcome into Report Cards Live. If you've looked in the description, I have been really horribly behind on report cards. People have asked me if I'm doing them anymore, if I'm going to be doing one on this specific ball, and the answer is the intention is there. I've got it on my. I'm pretty sure I've got it on my board here somewhere, but I just haven't had time to get to them, and I'm so far behind now that I have probably 40 different balls to do report cards on. And so I thought, well, why not just, these are kind of popular. People like this for the sport essentials. It saves me a lot of time there. And this way I can kind of talk to everybody at the same time while we're doing it. So I think that this could be fun. We're going to give it a shot. If it works, cool. If it doesn't, I will, I'm not going to just do it like this every time, because I would like to be more consistent about getting something up there 3-ish months after the ball comes out, so it's still relevant, whereas some of these I'm 9 months behind on. So I am not going to include balls that I have already done report cards for, because there have been a couple of them that came out. Also, let me know if you can hear me okay, or if you have any audio issues. I can also, I'm pretty sure I can adjust the, let me just do that, unless it's distracting. Oh, that's not distracting at all. Interesting. All right. So anyhow, so I've already done for like the Summit Peak, Black Widow 3.0, Absolute Power. So some of them that I have already done report cards for, I am not going to include. I'm also not going to include any report cards for balls that we did not review this year. There were some motive balls that we didn't, or most of the motive balls really that we didn't do. So I'm not going to throw my 2 cents in there on that one. And also, if they've released within the last couple months, so the last couple months where the Brunswick stuff and the Storm stuff, you might notice are not included. But the drink is Peach Strawberry Spindrift, by the way. And I got my mermaid jersey on, wanted to look pretty. So I don't think that I'm going to have any like particular order that I'm going to do these in. I think that I'm just going to start with one and go and kind of guesstimate when it came out. If you were watching this later, I'm going to try to go back and put timestamps on. It's a whole lot easier to do on a video that's more structured rather than a live stream where we're going to bounce around all over the place. The easiest thing for you to do is just to skip around on the video, though. Skip around until you see the ball, the balls or balls that you're interested in, hit the board, and then find it shouldn't be 10 or 15 seconds. I will try to get them timestamped, though. I understand that not everybody wants to see every frickin' ball on this list. And I understand that, having all this together with a bunch of stuff that you may or may not be interested in, I get it. Trust me. But this could be fun. So Crimson Jackal. Yeah. See, that's the thing, is that we didn't review it, and so I'm not going to do a report card on it because there was no review to begin with. So if someone would like to email Motive and suggest that they should send us stuff, I would definitely really like to. Angel and I would both really love a Sub-Zero Forge. But we, alas, do not receive stuff for Motive. So if we throw any Motive balls, it's because we decided that we wanted to purchase them. So we're going to go on ahead and start with the Scorpion Low Flare here on the side. This one came out earlier in the year. It's supposed to be along the lines of, again, IQ Tour, Web Tour type of idea, kind of medium strength, low RG, but low differential ball to really help you control the lane, control the pocket. IQ Tour. Basically, that's kind of IQ Tour, Web Tour. That's where it's supposed to be. I think that this is one of those balls that is a good ball, but it doesn't really fit the design. I think it's definitely very diggy when it has surface on it, and it is fairly slow to lane shine, but there's a pretty big difference between sanded and shiny. When it's shiny, it gets really clean and flippy. So I think that This is the trick though with rating these, and when I'm trying to put together a video, and I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but we get to talk about stuff. Some people like this a little bit, so this is the trick: is that it may be a good ball, it just may not fit the design intent. And so, how do you really, unless you have several different categories, like how do you really define it or put it in? Like, for design intent, I would give it a C or a D. It does kind of fit the medium strength gap. Or the zone. It's a good IQ tour type of ball for lower rev rates that would like to throw an IQ, but the IQ is maybe too blah for. But it's not a bad ball is the thing. So I think it's like A, ball reaction, but like C or D, design intent. So I'm just going to stick it in B. What do y'all think? Do we have any thoughts on that? Yeah, at Brett Spangler. Yeah. He doesn't like garage pro shop guys. I don't really blame him, because I don't like garage pro shop guys either. That's just not me. So yeah, that's where I think that lands. It's a little clean and flippy. I think it's also a little bit too strong with surface on it too to really fit that. It's not too far down from it's all over GB5 territory with with some surface on it, and then when it lane shines, it gets pretty clean and flippy. So yeah, Arctic vibe to move on. The Arctic is it's kind of in the it's not really in the opposite direction. It is also quite a bit stronger than it's supposed to be. So if you're looking for a light oil ball and thinking, okay, well, I've got an ocean vibe and I like that, and so I want something to kind of pair with that, the Arctic is a different animal. It is significantly stronger. I think it's a lot like the where is it here? I know I'm just missing it. Yeah, the Exponent Pearl. It and the Exponent Pearl share a lot of similarities. They're good balls. They're just way too strong for the price point or what the intent is. And so again, for design intent, it's a C or a D, but ball reaction again is A, maybe even S tier, because I've seen a lot of people throwing these. This is one of those. If the Arctic was a roto grip ball, it'd be one of those HP2 specials that's just like a Wrecker or like Storm's Punch Out or something that's just way more ball and way better than it's supposed to be for the price point. I think I'm also going to stick it in B territory. It's again, and I think it's probably a better ball than the Scorpion Low Flare. So I'm going to go on ahead and give it the nod there. Not so much for design intent, but ball reaction is really good, especially for the price tag. For the price tag, both of these might even belong in A tier, just because they're great balls and the price tag is right. Where's the Optimum Idle Pearl? It should be on there somewhere. I might have accidentally not had it on. Oh, no. Yeah. Another thing is that if it came out in the last couple months, I'm not doing it because it's too fresh. So there's a lot of stuff. So I am missing stuff from the last couple months. So this is like a first half of the year type of thing. Maybe I'll rename the stream or something, because there are going to be balls missing. And I might actually put a ticker down there for people that are showing up late. If we didn't review it, it's not getting a report card. If I already did a report card for it, but it came out this year, that's also not going to be on the list. Absolute Power Summit Peak fit that. Black Widow 3.0. And then within the last couple months. So, yep, that's why it's not on there. But yeah, I think that these are these should stay in the top of B tier. I'm going to try to be a little bit more reserved with just, throwing out great reviews so that we don't really dilute things. And so D tier might actually get used on a few of these. Attention Star, I think this is a pretty obvious S tier ball. This is probably SPI's ball of the year. It just does everything right. It's the right strength. It's very versatile. A lot of people like it. It can play on easy stuff. It can play on tough stuff. It can, I mean, it's a catch-all. It's a jack of all trades. It's just, uh, it's just, it's a good one. There's nothing that anybody can say to really knock it. And again, this is one of those I've only thrown one SPI ball this year. And for those of you watching, I will actually divulge that later when we get to that specific ball. But Attention Star is, I think, an obvious S tier ball, and probably one of Storm's SPI's best balls this year, if not their ball of the year so far, first half of the year. Beyond Infinity, this one is one that it's one of the prettiest balls of the year. I mean, if we're going on looks alone, I would probably still vote Evoke, but Archetype, Hybrid, and Beyond Infinity would be 2 and 3. It's a gorgeous ball. It is very, very reminiscent of the No Rules Pearl. For those of you that go back that far, it's like an earlier, smoother Attention Star. I think that this one's getting slept on a little bit because it's an earlier, slower Attention Star is what it is. It's the same general reaction shape. I just haven't heard anything about it. I haven't seen anybody throwing it. I don't know on this one. This one I think is an A as far as ball reaction. I don't know why there's no buzz. I don't know why nobody's talking about it. I don't understand, because this one is I think it's better for bigger rev rates. I think it's going to be better on tougher conditions because it is slower. It's not if I'm on a house shot, I'm going like Theorem, Vaporize. I've been throwing said Storm Ball quite a bit here in League since I drilled it. But that's kind of what I'm going for. The Beyond just doesn't see any time for me. Hey, it matches my jersey too, by the way. But it just doesn't see any time for me because there's better options on a house shot, realistically. And that's one of those things that it's like, I wish I could throw more of this stuff. I wish I could throw it more often, but I can't. And so I just kind of have to default to the best, like, 4 balls, but what's best for me may not be best for you. And so just because I don't throw it doesn't mean it isn't good. I've got, if you could see down around where my bags are at, there are 25 or 30 balls sitting out on the rack because I don't want to say, okay, well, I don't want to throw this ball anymore because it's a great ball, but it's just never going to see any lane time because I've just got both leagues we bowl are at the same house on the same pattern, same end of the house even. And so I just know what works. So that's kind of it. This one is definitely one that pay a little bit more attention to. It's getting lost in the shuffle, and I think it's a little bit better ball than that. Chill Pearl, another kind of pretty one. Angel didn't really like this one, but I thought it rolled better for her than she thought it did, and it's green, and so I'm kind of confused why. Yeah, Packy Hanrahan threw that like it was his only ball when it came out. Yeah, I can see that because it's a good ball for a lefty that doesn't go berserk. It's a reactive ball that lefties can throw. The Chill Pearl, I think, nails the design intent. I just think it's a kind of run of the mill, just good solid kind of blah, nothing special about it. A daily driver that doesn't stand out in one way or the other. It's good, but it's nothing special. So I think we're going in B. It's definitely not bad. It's just kind of there. If you like the look of it, it's very much in stealth territory. If you like the Idle Cosmos, take the shine off of it. It's very Cosmosy. It's somewhat, with the shine on it, it's kind of Marvel Pearl-ish, but not quite. I don't know. It just kind of is what it is. The Cipher, I think, is one that surprised me because it's been a whole lot more popular than I expected it to be. A lot of the pros used it on TV, especially at the World Series of Bowling. We saw Matt. Oh gosh, I'm Matt Russo. We saw him throwing it quite a bit, And it's looked really good for a lot of people. The problem for me is that it looks great at box or with surface on it. When it shines up, it's just not enough ball for me, because I see fresh conditions 24/7 period. So, I mean, if I was a pro and if I was especially a lefty pro, but if I was a pro and I could carry around 4 of these at 1,000 grit, and then just as soon as one starts getting a little too clean and sharp, then I can just switch to the other ball, that'd be great. But it's just, with surface, I don't use a whole lot of surface in League. And if something doesn't look good, at least lane shined, or isn't quite strong enough, like, I don't get under my Summit anymore. I just don't. So everything I throw is going to be asymmetric or a very strong symmetric ball. And so the Cipher is just not strong enough. It's just not strong enough. However, it is a very good ball. This one's going to go in A tier, I think, at the very top of A tier. It's not quite an S tier ball just because of what it is, but it's very sneaky good. It's one of those that, again, it's not strong enough to see a lot of regular use. You need some friction for it to work. But when it is in play, it's one of those balls where you would, if you're on higher friction lane surfaces, or like the lanes are very high friction, that's why it looks so good at the World Series of Bowling for those guys. You can go on ahead and chalk it up, and it's not going to burn up a lot of the stronger covers when you get on, no matter what the lane pattern is. A lot of bigger covers will burn up on higher friction lane surfaces. And so the play is to use a weaker shell and put some surface on it, because it's not going to burn up. So, I have an Optimum Idle Pearl, need a new ASIM Pearl. Do you think the Attention Star is too close to the OIP? The Optimum Pearl cover is stronger, but the Attention Star core is stronger. They are kind of, the Optimum Pearl is a little earlier and smoother. The Attention Star is a little cleaner and sharper, but they are kind of in the same general kind of range. They're almost more like an either or type of deal. I would think if you want, you might go with like a Harsh Reality DNA coil, something like that, with one of the stronger ASIMs, but I can't really talk anybody out of an Attention Star, honestly. So B7 puts out so much stuff that it's close to each other and looks a name, it's hard to keep track. Yeah, that's the thing. It's just they just have too many companies, and even though each individual company doesn't release a whole lot, if you look at them all by themselves, just as an entire company, yeah, Cipher looks good on flatter patterns. Cipher's like a solid IQ for me. Yeah, so it's just Cipher kind of fits in it's not quite high road weak, but it's kind of in that like Revenant zone, Revenant, Spectre, whatever else, kind of in that kind of zone. Trend 2, kind of not, the cover is not quite as strong, but something like that. Cipher's a very good ball, though. DNA coil. This one is also surprising because the DNA never caught on. It was one of those balls that once you got the surface issues figured out, it was a great ball. We actually have extras because I really liked mine, but it's just not anywhere remotely close to being as strong as they said it was. It's got this big giant core in it, and they said that, it's their strongest cover to date, but it just isn't. It's a marginally stronger absolute power, really. It just not any way, shape, or form anywhere close to as strong as they said it was. And DNA coil was one of those that nobody asked for, nobody really wanted, because the DNA wasn't great. The DNA coil, however, is really good. It's basically a reality check remake. It is what it is. So, yep, I was lucky to win the Attention Star from Bowler's Mart. It's been a great ball. Yeah. I figure my other option is the Vibo, which seems like an actual ball down. It kind of is, actually. The Vibo is kind of a ball down from the Optimum Idle Pearl, even though it shouldn't be. It's that cover is just so much cleaner than it's supposed to be. DNA coil, I think it's probably better than the Beyond Infinity. Again, better is relative, so it's always hard doing these kinds of lists, because I don't want people to get the idea that some balls are just better than it's like ranking golf clubs. It's like no one golf club is better than the other, provided that you use it in the situation it's to be used in, but there's several different factors that go into usability, versatility. Does it do what other ball, like if you're comparing a 7-iron of one brand to a 7-iron of another, then better can come into it, because then you have something, you have a direct correlation to compare it to. A vibe, the Arctic vibe and the Attention Star, or the Arctic vibe and the DNA coil are nowhere near similar ball reactions, but it comes down to several different factors. So just because, and some people, no, I could put a whatever ball ends up in D tier, if there's any of them, I'm sure there will be, but any ball that ends up in D tier down here, that doesn't mean it's a bad ball. It just means it doesn't do what it's supposed to do as well as other competition. And there's probably going to be some people that are screaming about something being down in D tier. It's like, oh my God, I love that ball. There's always going to be, even if, the worst ball ever made, there's some people that actually like that ball. So bear that in mind. The DNA coil is super good though, specifically because it's not this super monster. It's not an exotic gem. It's not a harsh reality pearl. It's cleaner and sharper and a little weaker than it's supposed to be. So it's almost like a more dynamic Vibo. It's virtual energy blackout Vibo. Oh, has anyone taken the surface shine off the effect? It just makes it a little earlier and smoother. I took the shine off because my effect kind of jackknifed and hook stopped, and it does blend it out a little bit. There's no surface is one of those things that I have a hard time getting excited about, because surface does pretty well the exact same thing on every ball. I've only been really surprised by surface adjustments a couple times. But typically it's just like, you add surface, the more surface you add, the earlier, stronger, and smoother the ball reaction gets. DNA coil, really good ball. Really good ball just in general. Hammer effect. This one's tough for me because the hammer effect is one of the worst balls I've ever thrown. For me personally. But it has looked like magic for virtually everybody else. James didn't really like his either, because the problem is it's so strong and so dynamic, but it's also somewhat forward. And so to get it down the lane, I've got to come up the back of it. I've got to be really soft with my hand, but it wants to quit. It doesn't want to quit. It just wants to go forward. And forward reaction, anything that's kind of more a hook set or forward type of ball reaction is just going to look like dog water for me, period. And so personally, if I was putting it, just go straight into D and we'd move on. But it's been ridiculous for everybody else. And so, part of this, I'm a pro shop guy. I can't be biased with this stuff. And again, just because I don't like it doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to like it. It's just terrible ball reaction for me. But I kind of think it has to go in S tier, because it's been so ridiculous for so many people. Everybody is like, oh my God, this is my ball of the year. This is my ball of the year. It's my ball of the year. Whatever else. And I'm like, man, I don't know. And the problem is, if it wasn't so strong, I could probably work with it. But it's so strong that I have to dump it, bail it, flag it, whatever else, just to get it down the lane. And then what I have to do to get it down the lane makes it look awful at the pocket. And so I just had to give up and move on. I wish I had the magical experience with it that everybody else did, but So I don't, for hammerheads. Yeah. It's everybody thinks it's B7, not even just Hammer's ball of the year, like B7's ball of the year. So yeah, I've got to put it in S tier. I have to, even though I hate it. The Endeavor is another one that's kind of interesting. It's a really pretty ball. It's the flippiest ball I've ever thrown. Now I have talked to some staffers asked me, it's like, well, what do you think of the Endeavor? And I'm like, man, that thing's just freaking crazy. And they're like, oh, well, we can't get ours to hook. And I'm like, oh, well, that's very interesting, because it's just easily the flippiest ball I've ever thrown, and it's not remotely close. So I'd like to see you do a list that compares all balls based on strong, sharp, medium, smooth, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's one of those things that you can get buried so fast. I used to try to do more stuff like that, but you get buried so fast with time, and then people's eyes glaze over, and it's like, it's great information to have, it's great information to put out there, but at some point you have to kind of make your own catalog, so to speak, because if I did something like that, or I could do different ratings, and okay, well, these are sharp, or these are that, but you kind of lose yourself sometimes, because whenever you rate something with numbers, or with this ball goes here, and it's like, okay, well, this ball fits under this ball, but there's no way it can fit here, and so the scale every once in a while has to move, because different balls change up different things. As soon as you give a ball a 10 on hook, and something else comes out that hooks more than that, then it's like, okay, well, now I guess our scale's 15 now, or something like that. It turns into a mess. I've done several rating systems before, and they just always end up terrible for one reason or another, because it's just really hard to quantify. So, yeah, I don't see the, some more. I need to put a ticker down here or something. I'm not doing, if we didn't review it on the channel, I'm not going to do a report card on it, because obviously I have nothing to kind of go off of. If I have already done a report card for it this year, Absolute Power, Summit Peak, Black Widow 3.0, so on and so forth, I'm not going to add them here, because I've already done the report cards for them. And if a ball has released in the last couple months, I'm also not going to do it, because we don't quite have enough time with them yet to really have a good opinion. So if they came out in the last couple months, I'm not going to do it yet, even though I tell you right now, the Vaporize would be the top ball in S tier, because it's that ball's insane. The Mesmerize is insane. Angel shot her first 300 with the Mesmerize. Intense Mindset would be up there pretty high too. So there's some good stuff over the summer, but we don't have enough time with them yet to really say. So plus I want to, if we do like this again, I want to let people have their own kind of opinions in here, but they've only been out for such a short time that I don't think we can really have like a super solid opinion, or kind of, and it's not even, this isn't just my opinion. This is what I'm gathering from watching. How many of them do I see out there? And you got to give it a couple months for them to kind of get out there, for people to buy them. Not everybody's going to rush out and buy everything as soon as it drops. How many of them do I see out and around? What are people saying about them? What are staffers saying about them? What are just your average bowlers saying about them? Do I see them on tougher conditions? Do I see them on easier conditions? That all kind of goes into the whole thing. So anyway, the Endeavor is kind of another one that just kind of ends up in B tier, even though it's a clean flippy ball. It's very high road-ish, a little stronger, and definitely flippier than a high road, but it just kind of, it's nothing there. It has some outstanding qualities, but I don't see a whole lot of them. And it's just kind of another one of those balls that just kind of hangs out. So I think it's another one that just kind of goes in B tier. It's nothing that really made a splash one way or the other. So B7 is what everybody calls the Brunswick companies. So Brunswick owns 7 companies. And so everybody, for easiest reference, just calls them B7. Yeah, not sure if you know how to do it. Well, I have a ticker that I can put on there, so I can put like a caption on here, like yeah, one of these. Ticker. So yeah, so I can put a ticker down there, but the problem is the ticker, for me to explain this, the ticker would be so long that it's just not worth it. So yeah, and I do have it in the description. I realize that not a whole lot of people drop down and read the description, but I do have the explanations in the description. And as people are watching this back, we'll touch on it as the questions come in, and that's fine. Some of you that are watching the whole thing, sorry, you're going to have to sit through it a few times, but it is what it is. So yeah, the Endeavor it also is what it is. So which would you say is the closest to the UFO alert? The Hitter Pearl. And I wanted to add that one in here because the Hitter Pearl is a UFO alert. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'll do a back half of the. This is kind of covering like the first half of the year. So I'll do a second half once we get to the end of the year. That might actually be the best way to do these too. I don't know. But Fireball Purple Gold, it's another one. I think that this one's also kind of a sleeper. This is like a it rolls like a Beyond Infinity. This one I'm going to put up in A tier because it's another one of those that's very good for the price point. And honestly, if I put that up there, I should have the Arctic Vibe up there too. Realistically speaking, it's another one of those. It's a little stronger than it should be, but it's one of those super great low end balls that the range on it is so big that you can use it as a ball in League. I think it's the right blend of length, shape, strength, whatever else that a lot of different bowler styles can use it. It can be a League ball. It can be a ball in transition on tougher conditions. You can play virtually any area on the lane with it. It's one of those climbing balls that just kind of, if you give it enough time, it'll get back from anywhere type of deals. It's just not quite strong enough to see a whole lot of regular use, but I think it's in Cipher territory as far as a shiny version that is just a jack of all trades, and it's a really, really great ball. So, yeah. Fireball, easily high A, best low-end ball in the catalog, and House Shot Monster. Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, Angel has the one reverb too that somebody said something about in the chat. Too early for a long-term review, but the one reverb has been bonkers. 260 plus games in 2 weeks of League. Angel really likes her reverb. The reverb and the mesmerize are the two that she kind of carries to her to League with her right now. She really likes both of those. GB5 is it's got way too much surface out of the box. It's way too strong, but it's a GB. It's a game breaker. It's one of those that's just going to fit in A tier. I don't know where it's going to. Yeah, I might actually move this around here. It fits in A tier. I'm not sure where it really fits. It might actually be top in A tier, believe it or not. Once you knock the frickin' chalk off of it. Yeah, the reverb is what the effect wanted to be. I think the reverb is better than the effect, but I think most people would disagree with me. The reverb is fighting for S tier, though. Everybody that liked the effect also likes the reverb, too. So, and just putting that out there. GB5, I think I do have to put it up there because it's not special necessarily. It's either top of the A tier or bottom of the S tier. Like, it's one of those balls that once you get some games on it, once you get a little bit of lane shine on it, again, I've got a buddy of mine that got one of these when it came out, and he either throws that or his Ocean Vibe. Like, that's it. If one doesn't work, the other works, and all he throws is the GB5, and he can play straight with it. He can hook it. He can do whatever. James has really been liking his since he drilled it. But yeah, the GB5 is, no need to explain the thing. Just move it to S. True story. But yeah, the GB5 is it. The GB5 is it. It's probably the best big symmetric ball on the market, I would say, honestly. Black Hammer, this one is interesting because it's definitely, I think, the best urethane ball, restricted with PBA restrictions. The purple is still the GOAT. The purple just is. But if you are prevented by the rules from throwing the purple, the black is the GOAT. It's the best urethane ball out there outside the purple. I actually, even though I have the choice going back and forth, I actually throw the black more than the purple, because the purple does have it's got more of an archy shape, and the black is a little bit rounder. It gives me a little bit more kind of splash room at the pocket. The purple can be a little too sharp sometimes, a little too much ball, a little too sharp, and the black is just it. The black is just it. Yeah, another good point. GB5 is a crazy value. The price is nuts for. Yeah, Judd says love the black hammer, maybe even more than the purple. So yeah, vanities. I'm going to put it in S tier because it's probably going to be it's weird to rate this one. It just is. It's a weird ball in a weird place, but not judging it against all these other balls, judging it against urethane, it's ridiculous. And even when I have the choice, it's not like, if you throw storm stuff and you have a choice to throw the pitch black, you're not even going to carry the red ball. Like, it's just, okay, I can throw the black, so I'm not even going to take this thing. But even if you can throw the purple, you're going to have a purple and you're going to have a black because they work together extremely well. The black is still very viable. It's just almost as good as the purple. It just is. Harsh reality. This one might, and this is the sad thing, is that the ball's not really bad. Like, I think it's average as far as big balls go. It's not as good as a gem. It's better than the DNA, but most balls are better than the DNA. The problem for the harsh now is the Ion Max, because the Ion Max can do everything the harsh can do, and then a million other things too. Like, there is no need for the harsh to exist. It just needs to be discontinued now because the max is it. And I think I could go on ahead, and if I could put the max in here and put it near the top of S tier, that's where it's going to be. I would just tell you right now that it's not even, let's wait and see and whatever else. I've seen enough. The Ion Max is the truth. The harsh reality is not. It's one of those AI balls that does kind of get bogged down, and so this might be our first one in C tier. But again, if you can put it right down the side, it likes straighter angles. It's not a bad ball, but comparatively, what it does, every other big ball out there can do the same thing or can do it better. And so that's judging it by its own merits. It's B or A ball reaction. It's pretty good, but judging it versus whatever all the other things that are out, it's just nothing to write home about. It's just not really especially impressive compared to every other big ball that's out there. The Mesmerize dumps on it. The Ion Max dumps on it. The Wicked Collision dumps on it. Just every other big ASIM solid out there, just it's no contest, really. Yep. Thanks for the comments there. Yeah, the Vaporize is just too new. Anything within the release in the last couple months, I'm not gonna hasn't had enough time yet. So, Harsh Reality Pearl is interesting because it's the same color. It's just a cleaner, sharper version of the Harsh Reality. There's been some videos out there. Ron Hicklin with Creating the Difference did one that shows if they're at the same surface, they're virtually the same ball. For whatever reason, though, the Harsh Reality is significantly better than the Harsh. I think specifically because the Pearl is just there is a marginal difference if they're both the same surface, but the difference is noticeable, I guess. Notable when it comes to getting the ball through the pins, not necessarily on ball reaction getting down there. It's just the Pearl is a little crisper, a little firmer, and that for some reason just kind of changes things. The Harsh Reality but the thing is, it's a little earlier and slower than the DNA coil, but it's right on top of the DNA coil. But it is really good. The harsh reality is, so the big thing is the Harsh Reality is a solid. It's designed to be surface, big, strong ball. Compared to other big, strong balls with surface, it's not it. The Harsh Reality Pearl, designed to be a polished, cleaner, flippier complement to it, it holds its own with a lot of other stuff that's out there. I would put it up against an Effect or it's not quite to that level, I wouldn't say. It's not quite to the Vaporize level, not quite to the Attention Star level, but comparing it to a DNA coil, to a One Reverb, to other stuff, When did the harsh? Was that in the last couple months too? Should it not be on the list? I don't know. I think it came out long enough ago. I can't keep track anymore. A part of it too is that Tier Maker would only let me put so many balls on here, and so that's I'm like, yeah, well, I wanted to include like the intense mindset and the stuff from like July, but I had a limit. So, but yeah, the Harsh Reality Pearl is I would recommend that ball. It looks pretty good. The Hater is a very interesting one because it's a higher RG asymmetric ball. It's kind of in the RST, like RSTX1 territory. It's a little, the core doesn't want to rev up or roll quite as much as RSTX1, but it's very X1-ish. It is, I thought it was very good, but it is kind of niche at the same time. It's one of those that it wants to be a big ball, but it also wants to be a little cleaner and sharper, but the cover doesn't let it be cleaner and sharper. It doesn't necessarily fight against itself, but it is kind of niche. It's not going to be, I think it's a great ball for two-handers because they can just saw on it and it won't rev or roll too early, and then it just kind of walks in off the spot. And so if you like to slow roll it or you have a bigger rev rate, it's a big ball for a big rev rate and or slow speed. It's just a little too niche. Yeah, Arctic Vibe was stronger than expected for me. Wasn't able to use it in the way I wanted, so it hasn't. That's why it's when we put it up there. That's why I put it in B tier. Based on ball reaction, it's a very good ball. Based on what it was supposed to do, no, it hooks miles more than its price point would suggest. So if you know that going into it, then it's a great value. But if you're trying to get like a light oil ball and you get an Arctic Vibe, you're probably not going to be happy. So Hater is going to go, it's not a C tier ball because it is for what it is supposed to do and supposed to be. I think it fits that. I think it probably even needs to be a little bit higher than that. So it's a little niche is the only thing with that. Yeah. Low B, maybe in C. Yeah. That's the thing is that on paper or like, man, I could really see this ball being good in this situation or that situation. It's just the situation for it is just rarely there. So as we add more balls, we might shuffle some of these around too. Hazmat Solid. Hazmat Solid, I think, is also another sleeper. I haven't seen many people throwing it. I haven't seen many people using it. The problem is that the GB5 is in the exact same territory, and I think the GB5 just does it better. And so that's one of those things. If you have a GB5 or you're going to buy something in this territory, just get the GB5 unless you really like the Hazmat. What? Thank you. So S tiers. Would you still recommend the purple if I'd never had urethane before? Yeah. Urethane is, or the purple is the perfect bridge to like urethane proper. So yeah, this is, yeah. Feel like I could just let Felix do this because we got all the same takes. And this is the thing, like the Hazmat Solid is ridiculous. It's just the GB5 outclasses it. But the Hazmat Solid is like this. Is it? I keep thinking it's a symmetric ball. Is it actually is? I have to look this up because this keeps getting to me because Hazmat Solid. No, it's symmetric ball. Okay. I don't know why I keep thinking I think it's a symmetric ball, and I'm like, well, I keep thinking it's symmetric, but it's actually asym. But no, it's a symmetric ball. It's right on top of the GB5, and the GB5, like the GB5 is the best ball in its category on the market. The Hazmat Solid is number 2, but the GB5 is just get that. Unless you really like the Hazmat and like the shape. Now, the thing is, it is different on the shape. The GB5 is rounder, more continuous. It's just like a huge IQ tour. The Hazmat Solid is more of a phase 2. So The phase 2 is a little more arcy. It's a little more directional. It will kind of do that hook set type of thing. And so the shape through the pins is a little different. But I think the GB5 is just it. So, yeah. Oh, apparently I forgot to get the intense mindset off of here. It's not supposed to be on here. Or no, it came out with the max bias and the outer limit. No, I don't remember. Whatever. It's on here. We'll talk about it. I didn't remove it. I can't just let it sit here. The intense mindset has gotten completely slept on, but I think it's an S tier ball. I really do. I'm just going to put it there for right now. We can talk about it in the chat. That ball is, it's nuts. It continues to just perform well on stuff that it shouldn't perform well on. Like, I don't know how many times I've taken on, we practice on some of the nationals patterns on stuff that's long and heavy. It actually looks decent on stuff that's tight, a little flatter. It looks good on. It just always looks good. It just always feels like I can go anywhere that I want to, and I can make it work. It may not be ideal. It may not be the pick for the situation. It may not be the perfect ball, but it's usable in virtually every situation. Like, I just haven't found a situation where like some balls, it's like, okay, well, this is just absolute. I need to put this away because this is just absolutely the wrong ball for this condition. I have not found it with that ball yet. It's a perfect strength. You can use it on tough stuff. You can use it on house shots. It is very flippy, and that's what it's really clean and flippy, but somehow it's controllable, and I don't understand. It continues to just trick me, and I think it's one of those that it's definitely getting slept on. I think it's much better than people are giving it credit for. I mean, it's, bowling balls aren't magic. They're just tools, but this one can definitely pull a rabbit out of a hat. This is the most interesting ball on the list. And this, I will go ahead and tell you, this is the ball that I selected to drill from the SPI catalog this year. I have drilled other SPI balls this year, just not balls that came out in 2024. This one I just had to have because I like the cover, and the core is kind of a can't miss thing. This ball absolutely does not remotely do anything like it's supposed to do. It just doesn't. It does not reinvent the benchmark. It is not a benchmarky ball whatsoever. It hates oil. It hates tougher conditions, but my God, it mows over house shots. If you have friction for this ball, I can't miss the pocket with it. And we have new pins in the center, and so I haven't really shot anything big with it, but I just keep shooting like 670 every single week with it. And so it's nothing, but it's doing better on the house shot with these frickin' pins. Nobody can carry on these pins, by the way. The league-wide average is down quite a bit, and this is scratch league with PBA champions and Eagle winners and collegiate champions and all kinds of and everybody. The pins suck. Very difficult. Looking at the Ion Pro to replace my OG Exponent. No, the Pro is not that ball. Let me chew on that one. Chew on that one for a minute. So yeah, the Ion Pro, I would definitely not get anywhere close to anything difficult with it. It goes several feet. Like my review for it that I'm going to do, I'm just going to let myself ramble a little bit. My review for it is all over the place. It's completely bipolar. It looks awful on Chrome. I've never had a ball look like, part of the reason we use chromium to shoot video on is because everything can hang out on it. Even the weak balls can hook on it. The strong balls don't burn up on it. It's very easy to tell the difference between balls. And it's like, well, most people bowl on a house shot. Why didn't show stuff on a house shot? Everything looks the same on a house shot. And big balls sometimes burn up on drier conditions. Weak balls look stronger than they actually are. So chromium is just that middle of the road. Everything looks good on it. And it's not necessarily to make everything look good. It's just everything is in play on it. And you can tell the differences between the balls quite a bit easier on just that one pattern. This ball goes 8 feet longer, even when I put a surface on it. And it did the Hypervenom thing where I put surface on it and it actually got more inconsistent. It just went literally 5 or 6 feet longer than other stuff. I just don't understand it. I put the normal layout on it. And this is what storm covers in general, outside of like NRG microtracks, storm covers in general are the cleanest on the market right now. I didn't realize it until I started throwing other brands at the beginning of the year. But storm covers are quite a bit cleaner to begin with. This is insane though. This thing is nutso. But yes, house shot, higher friction house shots or house shot in general. If you have a rev rate, if you have anything, Ion Pro all day long. It is not a benchmark ball. It should not be used anywhere close to difficult conditions. But man, it just destroys house shots. So it is absolutely bottom of D tier for what it's supposed to be. But it is like top of S tier for what it actually is. And so I don't know where to put it. Like, I'm just going to put it like top of B tier for right now, because it is, and not to make fun of anybody that is bipolar. It is just bipolar. I'm sorry. That's just what it is. And if you are bipolar, you'll definitely understand. I'm sorry. I'm not making fun. It's just the easiest way to describe it. The other thing is that I think that the Black Venom is in similar territory. I think it's probably the better ball that's more usable across more situations, and it's Venom price. I mean, most Motive stuff is Motive has got the highest prices out there, but the Venom line is very competitively priced, and the Black Venom I think is it. But if you got to have an Ion Pro, house shot, lots of friction. Kaboom. I think this one is not quite one of those that's just kind of lost in the shuffle, or one of those that just doesn't quite hang out. I don't think it's D tier, but it's kind of C tier. It's very clean. It's kind of weakish. It does go kind of forward. I don't see anywhere near the amount of friction that I need for this thing. And I think that the amount of friction that you need for it to look good in general, I think you need a higher rev rate. I think it's not that great of a league ball. Yeah, guys who throw the Ion Pro crush my house shot in league. Doesn't do much in fresh oil. Yeah, it is allergic to oil. I mean, like the Hustle Rip is a marble, and it hooks more on chromium than the Ion Pro does. I've never had anything like actually look bad on chromium. I've had some stuff that it's like, okay, well, that's okay, or that's not that great, or whatever. Wretched. Warning, explicit lyrics bad. New Blue, I don't believe came out this year. I think, did it? I can't add it now anyway, because this tier maker kind of sucks a little bit. Ion Pro to Vaporize, it's not close. Vaporize is 2 arrows. It's probably not 2 arrows. Vaporize is a stronger Vibo, and the Vibo is a stronger Ion Pro. So Vaporize is an arrow stronger anyway. Plus, it actually hooks in oil. Plus, it actually hooks where you think it's supposed to. Plus, you can use it on tougher conditions. There's no contest as far as I'm concerned. And the Vaporize looks really good on house shots too. So no contest. The Kaboom is too weak to use most of the time. The shape is not fantastic. Virtually every ball out there does, or every ball in its category, Endeavor, High Road, whatever else, every ball in its category kind of can do everything it can do, but can do it better. I would just get a high road. I think there is one specific situation I'm holding onto mine for, and that's Greater Tulsa Open at Broken Arrow, where you need something straight that'll get through the fronts and just walk it down 5 board. If it doesn't work there, then it just belongs in D tier, because it's just Columbia stuff in general, which I don't know how Columbia just keeps missing, but Columbia stuff is rough. Right before I'm about to talk about the Messenger, hold that thought. Yeah, New Blue was 2023. That's what I thought. Ion is the Night Road. Kind of. Actually, it's not anywhere close on paper, but it kind of is. Yeah, Stealth Hybrid came out too recently to be on the list. So, Lightning Blackout. This one pisses me off. And we're just going to go on ahead and do this, because it's not that it's necessarily a bad ball. It's just, it's outclassed by other stuff that's kind of in the same reaction territory. And there's no way this ball should be $200. I have no idea what they were thinking with it. It is REX Pearl, so that's kind of a higher dollar, but it's got a hustle. It's basically a hustle core, and people will say, okay, well, it's not but it's differently shaped, or it's differently this or whatever. It's a $200 hustle. Really, if you put that up against the new, what is the hustle BRY or whatever, the BRY does everything it does, if not better, for significantly cheaper cost. This was just a big swing and a miss. And I get it. I understand, shoot for the fences or swing for the fences, whatever. Kaboom is incredible for seniors that throw plastic but want reactive. That's amazing. I'm going to show that because that's great. Oh, damn it. Well, yes. Also, yeah. $200 hustle with different tires. Also applicable, but yes, Kaboom is incredible for seniors that throw plastic but want reactive. That is the perfect way to put it. Absolutely perfect. Also, $200 hustle with different tires. And it's REX is it's a whole lot stronger on paper than it actually is on the lane. So if you take a Lightning Blackout out and you throw it against a hustle BRY, you can't tell the difference. You just really can't. The Blackout might even be cleaner. The prices dropped on some sites to 150. It's just, and even if it was 175-ish or something, it's still not. And they tried to explain it away, and I understand, I get it. Sometimes people just don't understand certain things, and it's like, well, we should put price tags on the ball based on reaction quality and based on what it is and whatever else. Well, if that's the case, the high road should cost $200. But price has always been based on core strength. Always been based on core strength. Because even when you put weaker covers on bigger cores, they do that with like the astrophysics. They put a hotline cover. Basically, I mean, they used to put R2S on hotline balls. So they put R2S on an astrophysics, but it's a physics, so it's still $200. You can put NRG solid on a high road, and it's high road price. It's always been based on cores. The Lightning Blackout it's a hustle core. It's a hustle. It's a slightly stronger hustle, and I'm not even sure it's a slightly stronger hustle. So, yeah, and it looked like dog water for Shota the one time it showed up on TV. How would the Lightning Blackout stack up to the Max Thrills? It wouldn't, because the Max Thrills are very good. Again, you've seen EJ throwing them plenty. They look really good. And if you're trying to get more than a Lightning Blackout, the Arctic vibe dumps on it. The Ocean vibe dumps on it. The Scorpion Strike, which I really wanted to talk about, absolutely dumps on it. Scorpion Strike, I'm going to tell you right now, is a sleeper. Yeah, just get a high road is solid advice in general. Yeah, but the Lightning Blackout was so mishandled as far as the price goes that it actually pisses me off. And I'm not sure another ball is going to end up in D tier, but I wish that I could put it down here. But Tourmaker won't it doesn't let me do that. Maybe I can make like an F tier just specifically for that ball so that it doesn't get associated with any other ball that I might put in D tier. Here in the future. So anyway, yeah, I'm surprised it's not discontinued yet. It was a mistake. Max Bias. This one is a radical ball if there ever was a radical ball. It reacts exactly like every other radical ASIM you've ever thrown. It's an earlier, slower conspiracy. It's got that same smooth, climbing, roundish arc that every other big radical ball has, going back to the Guru, the original conspiracy, the radical conspiracy. It just acts like every other big radical ASIM ever, which means it's still pretty good. So honestly enough, it does belong like middle of, I don't know exactly where it belongs in A tier. It is really good though. I'll put it down there because it's not something that you're going to use a whole lot, but we have to compare what the ball is. Price point factors into it, obviously, after that rant about the Lightning. But price point does factor into it, but how it stacks up against other similar balls, like stuff like the Harsh Reality, you're just not going to throw a whole lot. I don't even think you'd throw stuff like the Beyond Infinity a whole lot, but against similar balls, it stacks up as good, if not better, than a lot of them. The Max Bias is very versatile. It is very early and smooth, but you can move around with it. It again is a perfect example of one that's in Harsh Reality territory. It just outclasses it across the board. So yeah, my Tundra Blue Fire is super good, and it shits on the Lightning Blackout. Yeah, Hustle X-Ray hooks. Yeah, the Hustle X-Ray is ridiculous too. So yeah, I love that they released the Road around the same time for cheaper. That's the other thing that we were talking about. It's like, okay, the Road, same cover formula, stronger core, like $40 less or whatever. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, yeah, objectively, the Max Bias is it's very, very strong out of the box. Once it shines up a little bit, yes, you could actually. The Max Bias can do all kinds of things. It can go all over the place. I think that you do need a little bit of a rev rate for it because it is kind of smooth, but it's kind of surprisingly like tippy too at the same time. So it's one of those that's a little weird, but it's weird in a good way. It is a really good ball, and that again, we're going to have the same conversation when we get to the Radical Conspiracy because it's just a cleaner, sharper version of the Max Bias. And the Radical Conspiracy does exactly what the Conspiracy does, that did exactly what the Guru did, that did exactly like whatever the crap ball was before it. But it's just good. It's just good. I mean, Radical kind of unapologetically just keeps putting out the same bowling balls over and over again. They have like two shapes, but they're really good shapes. And they just, Radical doesn't put out anything that's terribly exciting or interesting or whatever, but they just don't miss. They just don't. So, Messenger Power Core. This ball, not the thing that I appreciate most. Oh, the Scorpion Strike is on here. Sweet. We will talk about that. Heck yeah. It did come out long enough. Yeah, it came out with the Hazmat Solid and the Intense Mindset and all that. Okay. I'm catching up here. I swear to God, I pay attention. The thing that I like about what Brunswick B7 is doing with all the throwback stuff is it's not just throwback to take advantage of a vintage name to sell stuff. They actually try. Like, they actually put the work in. They make it feel like the original felt. Like the new Super CUDA, it's ugly and it's kind of slow and a little bit whatever else, but it is absolutely a CUDA. It is absolutely a CUDA. Very unmistakable. The Messenger, the Messenger, this is the Messenger Black Silver from 20 years ago or whatever. It absolutely is that ball. It looks great for Angel. She hasn't thrown it a whole lot here recently because it's just weaker. It's just a little bit on it's medium strength ball, and she's been throwing Mesmerize and One Reverb quite a bit lately. but it is still in the shuffle. If we go to tournaments, whatever, it is definitely in the conversation because it's a great ball. James has actually liked his quite a bit. Oh, you should change the tier labels from S, A, B, C, D. I have perfect names for you. I really should. I didn't think about that. But I should, because I love when the NFL tiers come out. It's like, actually this, or actually the NFL tier list where they have the special tier names. Those are hilarious. So I'm just not smart enough to think about that. But yeah, the messenger is legit. I think it's either side of the Cipher. I think that the messenger would probably get used more than the Cipher would. It's a can't miss. This is one of the that I tell people, like the Arctic Vibe is if you just buy one ball a year for League, buy an Arctic Vibe, buy a messenger. It is the perfect strength for League. It works for all different bowler styles. It's sharp enough to help out the lower rev rates. It's smooth enough to be throwable by the higher rev rates. Again, Angel likes hers and James likes his, and they're miles and miles away. So the messenger is a good one. And for those that were around, again, if you were around 20 years ago or whatever, and you had one of the original ones, absolutely buy this one. What's up, Clifton? Don Clifton? Yeah. I know who you are. I'm just trying to just never actually called you out on a stream before, so working that out. But no, if you had, and everybody had a black and silver messenger back in the day, it absolutely nails the ball reaction. It just does. I had the blue, silver, the BSP. I had the blue and silver and purple one. I didn't have the black and silver one. Everybody else had one of the black and silver ones. I saw it everywhere. And this new one, absolutely spitting image, just absolute copy. It's good. Yeah, GB5 and Messenger, and you have a bag. Yeah, realistically speaking. So yeah, Kirk Cousins tier. Kirk Cousins is okay though. he tries. He's very hard on the eyes sometimes, but he's okay. The S should be strike, spare B 10s, split, and the D Greek church. Yeah, bowling names. I like it. I need to name a ball name, so the D just needs to be renamed to Lightning Blackout, LBO. The Evoke is very interesting because it just doesn't look that great on house shots. I wanted so badly, because this again, for and some people think it's ugly. They think it's an eyesore. They think it's too bright and whatever else. And I'll give it to you. For people that don't like bright bowling balls, yeah, it is offensively bright. But there's a lot better stuff to use on house shots. And I wanted to use it because I bowl mostly on house shots, but it is really good on tough stuff. I think it's in max bias territory, where it is just kind of that. It is a big ball, but you can throw it in League. It's just a little too slow. It is very benchmarky. This is what the Ion Pro should have been almost. I mean, the Ion Pro was shooting for like the NV Tour and Black Venom and whatever else, and it missed on all of those, but ended up being a goat at what it actually is. Kind of like the clone. Like the clone was supposed to be the UFO alert. It just wasn't remotely close. But man, it was really good at what it actually was. The Evoke's in the same territory. I'm going to put it up. I'm going to put it up there, even though it probably shouldn't be. I'm probably biased on this a little bit. Honestly, I'm probably biased. I probably am. But it's just, you can use it on house shots. I can't, because it needs a little bit more. It's slow. It's slow. And so if I had just a little bit more volume, I could use it. If it was just a little faster, I could use it. But man, it's really, really good on tough stuff. It's not like a big ball like a gem, or something like that. But it's just that next step down to where it's not a gem. It's not gem strong, but it's not absolute power weak. It kind of fits right in between there in just that perfect little spot. And the cover, the cover. What's up, Jonathan? Yes, Duramax is actually a thing. Definitely. And there's some other people. It's on the Sub-Zero Forge too. The Evoke got through. I threw it for film. Let me see. I threw probably 10 games on it when I was out filming for it because I did a few different things with it, and it did shine up a little bit, but not remotely close to what other balls do. I mean, it shined up more like urethane does. It's very, very slow to actually shine up. So it does hold surface significantly longer, and noticeably longer than everything else does. So I will put the stamp of approval. It does fit in NV Tour territory, and the NV Tour is the same exact thing for me. It's so close to being good, but it's just not quite there. And if I don't use it on a house shot, I throw urethane most of the time on tougher stuff, and so it doesn't fit well for me. But it's a great ball. It's a great reaction. Very versatile. Can do a lot of different things for a lot of different people. It just does not fit for me for virtually anything, unfortunately. On the right side, this would be like the only ball I throw. Yeah, I throw all motive, and it sits in my closet because it's not good on a league shot. That's the thing. Is it just very unfortunate? Either hooks at your toe or zero energy to the pocket. Yeah, it just not. There's much better choices on a house shot, and I'm defending it, and I love it. But this is absolutely right, absolutely correct. Yes, would you say you're max biased? Yeah. The Raw Hammer Hybrid is definitely quite a bit weaker ball. The Raw Hammers are much more in Tropical Storm territory, not quite that far down, but not really up in performance ball territory. Do you think there's a certain brand of balls that crack more? No, there's just not. Some of them crack. Like Motive is the only brand that will crack from the labels just because of how they do their labels. But there's no brand that cracks any more than any other brand. I've been in a pro shop for a long time. I've processed a million different warranty claims and whatever else, and there's just not. I think people will say maybe, okay, well, the storm balls crack more. It's like, well, there's more storm balls out there. There used to be anyway. I think it's getting a little bit more even, but it's like, well, if there's more storm balls out there, it stands to reason that more of them would crack given higher percentages, but people don't really pay attention to actual, facts and information. Oh boy, there's no pain like that, by the way. Oh, you get a mustache hair stuck in the frickin' tab, the little whatever on the back side of this tab. Holy crap. I just need to take these off.
You could just pour it in a glass.
Oh, no. Terrible idea. Hypervenom. If this was my opinion, this would sit slightly above the Lightning Blackout. Because this is one of the worst balls I've ever thrown. I have no idea how it gets worse with surface. It did. It looks awful for me. It's very, very good for Angel though. I don't know what, and I think this is one of those. It's kind of in Fatal Venom territory. It's a love it or hate it ball, and the Fatal people either swore it was magic or swore it was awful. Yeah, it wasn't. Man, it is awful close. Awful close. But this one, I think, has to go. It's not better than let's just. It's not better than an Arctic. I think it's better than a Scorpion Low Flare, though. I'm okay putting it there. And actually, the more I look at it, the more I think the Arctic vibe should be up at the bottom of A tier. I think that the Arctic is. I'm disrespecting it a little bit. So yeah, it's It's one of those, yeah, some people love it. Some people would put it in S tier and some people would put it in D tier. I would put it in S tier for Angel. I would put it in D tier for me. So it's going to live in B tier because it's one of the, it's like the Ion Pro. It's just one that's either dog water or amazing. And there's just no in between. Coral is the best Pearl Venom ever created. The Venom, yeah, that one, the Coral was very good. Outer Limits Pearl. This is another one of those radical bolt. Like it's sharper than the Beyond Infinity. It kind of rolls like the Beyond Infinity. But this is one of these nondescript, no one cares radical balls that actually is pretty good. But it's just, it hangs out down here with all this other random crap that nobody cares about. I would probably put it belongs in, it's a good ball, but it's just nobody cares. It's a chill Pearl or Endeavor or whatever else. It's just, I don't know. Don't care. It just sucks. Or it's boring. It's just boring. Nobody cares. Nobody asked for it. Nobody wanted it. It's just kind of there because they had to release something like that. And so that's what we got. And it's a good ball, but nobody cares. So, yeah, it doesn't really go there based on like ball reaction or how it stacks up against other balls in kind of its zone. It does compete with the other balls it's supposed to compete with. It's just run of the mill. There's nothing outstanding or special about it. It's just kind of there. Yeah, for too big for house balls like the Evoke, wouldn't just get a mid ball reaction by taking it to 4,000. Not really. Sometimes, like some balls just need to have some surface on them. The Evoke, I think, if you shine it up, it tries to take it away from what it actually is. I think it looks best at like 3,000. It's a little too diggy with more surface than that. But if you try to like shine it up, it just doesn't end up being what you want it to be. That's one that you just got to let it be what it wants to be. Which unfortunately makes it a little, knocks the versatility down a little bit. So the Rattler New is both what it should be and not close to what it should be, because the new blue hammer was supposed to be like kind of like as close to a purple as you can get. With surface on it, the new blue is great. It's absolutely very urethane-y. It's a little bit stronger than urethane. It's a little bit more shape than urethane. When it shines up, it's a reactive ball. It's just straight up a reactive ball when it shines up. And so I think and it shines up faster than urethane does. And so the problem is you're not going to be able to get through a 6 or 8 game block with it because it's just gonna shine up and then it's going to get too clean and flippy. So it's really good. The new blue is just absolute, and you haven't seen it used because it just doesn't fit as a urethane replacement. It just doesn't. Shined up on a house shot though, it's bonkers. It looks ridiculous shined up on a house shot. So it's another one of those that would live in B tier because it's very good at what it actually does, but it does not remotely fit the design intent, or at least not long enough. It's just the gap between sanded, the reaction gap between sanded and shiny is just a chasm, absolute chasm. The Rattler New though, very, very surprising because it actually does what the new blue was supposed to do. Even when the Rattler New shines up, it is still pretty smooth. The Rattler New is basically, if the IQ 78, the red IQ 78 was actually good, that would be the Rattler New. Now you can still tell it's not urethane because it is a little cleaner. It is a little cleaner and weaker. It just doesn't see the lane front to back like urethane does. It does side to side though. One of the guys on our nationals group shot 670 or 680 with the new in team. The team was brutal this year, and the Rattler New looked amazing because it's more core than a purple hammer, more core than a purple, more than a black, and it has a little bit more shape, but it definitely does live in urethane territory like it's supposed to. So I can't put it in. And this is another hard one to place because if you're not throwing urethane, it just doesn't match up with all this other stuff. But as far as what it actually does, where it's actually supposed to be, I think it does fit in low A tier. Because if I can use urethane, I'm going to be using urethane. But if I get into a situation where it's like, well, the IQ 78 would look good here if it was actually a good bowling ball, so I would throw the Rattler new. Because it's just, the Rattler new does what it's supposed to, which is really weird because I thought that this is going to be interesting, especially because the new blue doesn't really, it doesn't really fit, didn't really. So I was kind of wondering what was going to go on with this, and we were very surprised at how slow and how smooth it was. And it's like, well, this is actually a thing. Like, this is actually what this is supposed to do. This looks good, and this is great. So, yeah. B7 makes so many 97 looking bowling balls. Yeah. So yeah, the Rattler new is legit. Yeah, Angel couldn't stand it. I don't throw them, and this is the thing, is when you want true urethane, it's not it. But when you are looking for something kind of in that, because there is kind of a gap, it's like, well, okay, well, reactive's not quite it. Urethane's not quite it either. Rattler new fits like perfectly right in between there. Radical Conspiracy is another one that's like right on top of. I think it's going to get a little bit higher ranking than the Max Bias because it's more versatile, more generally usable by more people. The Max Bias is just a little early and smooth. The Radical Conspiracy is a more user friendly version, I would say. It's cleaner and sharper. It is absolutely that same exact radical shape that they always make. So the Radical Conspiracy, I think, should live up here. It's and again, it's a more throwable Evoke also, because the Evoke is kind of right on top of the Max Bias. The Radical Conspiracy is a ball that can go both directions. This one does look pretty good on house shots because it is cleaner and sharper. And then if you sand it down, it does still look good on tougher stuff. So there's not a whole lot to say about the Radical Conspiracy because it does. That's the yin and the yang with Radical, or the good thing and the bad thing is like exactly what you're getting every time, but you're usually pretty excited about that because it's the same stuff every time, but it's the same pretty good stuff every time. So, Optimum Idol. This one, gosh, this is real. Well, I know where it's going, and it's not S tier. It kind of should. Well, let me put it this way. If the Optimum Idol belongs in S tier, so does the GB5 and so does the Hazmat Solid. Because the Optimum Idol and GB5 are ridiculously close to each other. It's just the GB5 is a little cleaner, it's a little sharper, and it's definitely more versatile left to right. And so this is another one of those cases where if you're in between a GB5 and an Optimum, just get the GB5 because it's just, they do the same things and the GB5 is just the better ball. But you could do a whole lot worse than an Optimum Idol. Like, honestly, they absolutely nailed it. Is the original Idol. If you had the original Idol and love the original Idol, get the Optimum because it's virtually the same ball. It's not exactly the same ball. It's so close that you're splitting hairs. And I would definitely not argue with putting the Optimum in S tier because it just for what it's supposed to be, what it's compared to, what it competes with, what it was designed to be, what it was designed to replace. It is that good. But if I put it up there, I also have to put the GB5 and the Hazmat Solid up there too because they're that good. So, Felix, that's not a bad point. I think that it's time to start shuffling some stuff around here. I think that means that the GB5 does belong up there, and maybe the Optimum is better than the Hazmat Solid. I'm really on the fence about that. I could put them on top of each other if I really could. Let's just do that for the let's just do that for the sake of our okay. It won't let me do it that way. Just to be nice. Just there's a lot of fans of it, and the Hazmat Solid is still fairly new too. It just doesn't have quite the history that either the Idol or the GB5 does, and that's another good point. The game breakers are still it's also the GB5 is also cheaper than the Optimum. So to be fair, how well does it hold up against lane shine? As good as anything else, and it does look really good with lane shine. You don't have quite the big gap. Like some of these balls, if they shine up, they go from being really early and slow to really long and whippy. Like the Scorpion Low Flare, I think, has that problem. With surface, it's what it's supposed to be, but if as soon as it shines up, it's just way too clean and flippy. Yeah, the Scorpion Strike is definitely I know about the Scorpion Strike. Let me put it that way. I'm pretty sure I'm the one that told you about the Scorpion Strike. But yeah, the Optimum Idol is good because sure, it's not quite as early, strong, whatever else, but it still does maintain a very similar shape. It doesn't get super clean and flippy when it gets a little bit of shine on it. And so it does help out a lot in that general direction. It kind of is what it is. And you just have a small variance between shiny and surface. But yeah, it's and I could be talked into putting the Optimum up in S tier behind the GB5. I would not have a problem with that. Scorpion Strike. This is bar none the absolute best ball for the price on the market right now, and it's not particularly close. It's better than the Scorpion Low Flare. It's better than the Arctic Vibe. I'd say it's even better than the Messenger. It's better than the Cipher. This just, and we're talking in territory like it's not just bottom of S tier. Like this one, especially for the price. For the performance, it belongs in S tier for performance, period. But the price makes it really competitive. This is like ball of the year type stuff. I think it's a baby intense mindset because it's the same thing. It just somehow works on everything, even in situations it shouldn't work in. It just makes it happen. It's just really good. It's extremely versatile. James has thrown his on all kinds of stuff. It looks great on the house shot. It looks good on heavier volume patterns than it should. Yeah, and this is the thing it's getting completely slept on because number one, Brunswick for some reason has this obsession with orange and purple. I don't understand it, but purple stuff just generally does not sell well. Purple is it's just not a good color. It's not one that stands out on shelves. It's just, if you look at other stuff that people don't buy, unless it's an Arctic Vibe where it just, most of it's white. Just purple's it's not it. It's just not. And that's the only reason why the Scorpion Strike's not getting any attention. It is a hammer ball, so it should be getting more attention. I will put it down here for right now, but it absolutely belongs in S tier. I'm just not sure. Nah, I'm going to end up talking James into an intense mindset now. Did he already get one? I can't remember. I can't keep track. But yeah, Scorpion Strike. Well,
is he in your DMs yet?
Yeah, James, you already. It's pretty close. The intense mindset is basically a pure envy. So take that one back off the list. Scorpion Strike is the truth though, and you cannot. It is absolutely ball of the year for that price point. Absolutely, unquestionably. Don't tell a Motive fan purple is the best color. Yeah, purple hammer colors. Yeah, it just purple in general is not a color that stands out on a shelf. It's just not. So yeah, I've heard, which is weird. I've heard more people talk about the Scorpion Low Flare versus the Strike. The Scorpion Low Flare is also a very good ball for the price point. It just doesn't do what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be like an IQ Tour, and it's just not an IQ Tour. Actually, shined up, the Scorpion Low Flare and the Scorpion Strike could be run together because they're fairly similar on what they do. It's just the Scorpion Low Flare, it wants to be an IQ, but it also wants to be a Scorpion Strike at the same time, and that just doesn't done a thing. So, oh, it might not be on the. It's not on the list yet. It's the Hitter Pearl. The Hitter Pearl is the UFO alert ball. The Hitter Pearl, if you want a real UFO alert replacement, that's the Hitter Pearl. The Strike is just, I can't say enough good things about the Strike. The Road. The Road is not like I can't what's the word I'm looking for? There's several words, but I can't say them on YouTube. I would not want to disrespect any ball by sitting it down there in D tier with the lightning blackout. So no matter how bad some of the rest of these might be, the Road, I completely, when I was going through looking at all this stuff, I completely forgot that the Road existed because it is just such a, it's like, okay, well, we have AI. So what stuff can we just slap it on now? And the Road is it. They had the Night Road, which was REX without AI. And okay, so the Road is a hybrid REX with AI, but it's just like, okay, well, this is just a copy paste on paper. They didn't really care about it. It's obvious that they didn't really care about it or were too interested in it. It's like, oh, okay, well, it says Road on it and we'll put AI in it and it'll be a thing. And they didn't care. Nobody else cared either. I haven't seen anybody throwing it compared to what everything else in kind of that same reaction zone. Everything either does what it does or does it better. Just bleh.
And people still pay $225 for High Road X.
Yeah, and it's not, again, like it's a bad ball. It's just like a Journey knockoff kind of. And there's just nothing special about it. There's nothing special about it. There's nothing interesting about it. Every other ball, again, in that kind of zone, outclasses it, does what it does better, does what it does for cheaper, just whatever else. Yeah, the Road is, yeah, I think Storm forgot the Road everybody. Wait, the Road is that bad? It's okay. This is one of those, it's okay to like this ball. There's people that like the Lightning Blackout too, and it's not like I think it's terrible. It's just that's the thing, was what people miss in tier lists sometime, or what get lost in translation. Some people might think, man, the Lightning Blackout's really good. It's like, I would believe you if you liked it. I can see how it would be good for certain people on certain conditions, certain situations, whatever else. It's just, for the price, it's not better. There's other stuff that in that same zone that does everything it does and does it better, does it for cheaper, whatever else. And so there's just several reasons it belongs down here. And so if you say, well, I don't understand, I think the Road's a really good ball, I'm not going to argue with that at all. It's just, so are every other ball in its price category and lower than that and whatever else. You get an Arctic vibe and completely forget that the Road existed. It's kind of that thing. The Road is meh, but it has to be higher than the Kaboom. That means something coming from a B7 guy. And I really want to like the Kaboom. It's kind of rough. All right, well, you've convinced me. We'll just switch this because it might actually be better than the Kaboom. The Kaboom is pretty bleh. Yeah. The road should definitely be B tier minimum. And see, I don't necessarily argue with that, but if I put the road in B tier or higher, then that means everything else has to get moved up, and I just can't do that. It's not. And again, this is why I have trouble doing these tier lists sometimes, because it kind of communicates something that I don't necessarily want to communicate. And quality when it comes to ball reaction is relative. It's very relative. And that's the thing is some people are going to, well, it's not that bad of a ball. It's like, well, just because it's in C tier doesn't mean I'm saying it's a bad ball. Just because the Lightning Blackout's in D tier doesn't mean that it's a bad ball either. It's just comparatively speaking, when we're comparing it to other balls, price points, blah, blah, whatever, on so on and so forth, that's just where it stacks up against everything else for the price, basically. So, yeah. Tundra Blue Fire. This one's a little interesting because it's just too weak to see a whole lot of. It's a very specific design, specific use bowling ball that's very good at what it does. You're just not going to use it a whole lot. It's like a half step below a high road. It's very high road pearlish. And so it is a very good ball. You're just not going to use it much. And so this is one that, again, comparatively for what it does and what it competes against and whatever else, it probably should be an A tier ball. It's just, it's so niche and it's so low use that it just, for the majority of people, it's going to be like that extra wedge in your bag. It's going to be like that 59-degree wedge that you would just never really use on a normal golf course. Very often it's like, okay, well, I just use my pitching wedge, or I can use my, 57 or my 61 or whatever. It's just not going to be a big deal. It's just the one that you're not going to use a whole lot, but it's very good at what it does. It's just not going to use a whole lot. So I would have to stick it. I'd just stick it in the middle of beat. It's just right in the middle of everything. It's very, very good for what it is. It just kind of is what it is. This one might surprise some people. The Ultimate Defender is really nothing special. It's kind of like a Beyond Infinity with surface on it. It's just very, very good, though. It's very blah. It's not really long and flippy. It's not really early and smooth. It's not very impressive reaction speaking. It just continues to get the job done. It continues to hit the pocket. It's basically a stronger Storm Nova. And there was nothing special about the Nova either. It just was kind of, if the Nova was a little bit stronger, it would have been much better than it actually was. I think the Nova got a lot of attention because it just optically was one of the best looking balls ever. The UD is just, again, it's got purple in it, man. It just, this is the one me and Luke Hard disagree. The UD is good. It's just good, but it's not fast enough. It's kind of like a weak mass bias. It's just not quite strong enough, not quite fast enough to see a whole lot of regular use for average bowlers on league conditions. But I don't know. Maybe it's just like the King of B tier. I don't know that I can. Nah, it's not quite. It's not quite. It's pretty good, but I can see Felix's point. I think it's better than a C. But I could be talked into that again too, because it's not like the harsh reality is bad. It's just everything in its class outclasses it. The UD, I think, can hold its own with stuff that is in its same class. I think it's nothing special, but it can definitely hold its own, and it's just, I think it's a little bit better than the attention it got. But yeah, it's it's another one of those that people just kind of blink at and walk on. It's nothing that's going to stand out on a shop shelf. It's nothing that you're going to be, oh my God, I've got to get more of these if you drill one. It is just good. It's just good, solid ball. Can use it on a lot of stuff. It's probably better on tougher conditions than it is on a house shot. It's probably a little slim, especially for righties too. It's probably just a little blah for righties. The Pure Madness is interesting because it's very, very good at what it does, but it's already discontinued. And this is one of those ones that I just do not understand sometimes why they release certain balls. Technically, this ball had to come out to fill the gap for Columbia as a big, strong ball. It's basically a gem. So it is good, but it's just nobody was going to buy this thing. Just nobody. I mean, this is one of those that it could be the best reacting ball ever, but it's the Columbia Pure Madness, and it's black and red and yellow. Nobody was going to buy this. Nobody was going to care. I would have put the kibosh on this one from the get-go. But as far as actual ball reaction, like it's gem level ball reaction. So it's like a borderline S tier ball reaction. But as far as like give a shit, woof. Yeah, Columbia. I don't know what the deal is with like there's a lot of kind of blah stuff that gets Brunswick's got so many brands. Some stuff is just going to miss every once in a while, but Columbia, it seems like consistently just awful. Messenger, awful. Or just nobody cares. Radical's kind of the same way. Deviate's a little hit and miss. When Deviate hits, I think they really hit. When Ebonite has the game breaker, every company has their kind of it ball, but Columbia just needs to go away. I don't think that Brunswick doesn't want to end classic companies on their watch, so to speak. But you could lose at this point with the kind of stuff that comes out. You could lose Columbia, Deviate, Ebonite, and Radical, and nobody would care. Honestly, like Columbia needs a little bit more attention, because even though the power, the CUDA, the Super CUDA is a CUDA, an actual CUDA, it's just not that special. It's ugly and it's pretty smooth, and they nailed what they were going for, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. But it's without further ado, I don't know where to put this one. I don't know, because it's better than the harsh reality. It definitely competes with what it's supposed to compete with, but it's just not. Nobody's going to go out of their way for it. And if somebody buys something else, they're going to be just fine. So maybe it does go down here. Like the harsh reality underperforms versus the competition. So I can't put it down there, but I can't put it above the Scorpion Low Flare. It's not better than Tundra 5. It's either side of the outer limits. It's kind of with the hater outer limits in here somewhere. It doesn't really matter. They're kind of all on top of each other. Stuff that's not terrible, that's actually pretty good, but it's doesn't really stand out against everything else it's competing with, and it just doesn't stand out as far as the marketing stuff goes. So, yeah. Yeah, and this is the thing. Like, Ebonite's one of those classic brands, and they do have the one also, the one in the GB5. I could listen to, okay, we need to keep, and the one Reverb's really good. I could listen to keeping Ebonite, but yeah, Radical, no one would care. Nobody would care about Columbia. Track's one of their best brands, I think, actually. Nobody would care about Deviate, nobody would care about Columbia, and nobody would care about Radical. They could just cut them all off and do better. I mean, do that kind of stuff with other companies. So yeah, I've always hated Radical marketing. I hate all of it, but they have their little niche, and it's one of those things that all attention is good attention. And so it's one of those things that Radical does have their own little niche carved out. They managed to be like their own brand within the separated from the Brunswick stuff almost. They have their own identity separate of everything else. So yeah, Ebonite can stay just based on the GBs. If they keep making just make game breakers and ones. Archetype Hybrid. This ball again, we were just talking about track. I'm not entirely sure I can put this up in S tier, but I'm not entirely sure I can put it under S tier. It was unfortunately just way too strong for me to throw, and it was weird for Angel. I think it was actually one of those things where the core kind of did too much for her. It just it was very inconsistent for her. Some shots, it would just look absolutely nails, and then other shots, it'd just bail on it. I never understood it. It was consistently amazing for me, but it's just way too strong. Just orders of magnitude too strong. No way I could ever throw it. But yeah, the Archetype Hybrid is, and it's what was the other one that I was looking at on the list? As far as like optics goes, the hammer effect is really attractive too, but I would go like Evoke Archetype Hybrid for like my top 2 best looking balls of the year so far. Just really, really good looking ball and just good stuff, period. I'm not sure it's better than the Optimum Idol. I think it's better than the Hazmat, and I have trouble sticking it in A tier because it's so good, but it's definitely, and we might have to shuffle some things around here. But yeah, the Archetype Hybrid is the truth. It's just the truth. Violent Collision, I have rose-colored glasses on this one because this is one of the first ones of the B7 brand stuff that I drilled, and it's so different from Storm stuff that it's like, wow, this is a shiny ball that actually hooks in the puddle. I'd come to find out all the shiny Brunswick stuff hooks in the puddle, where Storm stuff is just a little lackluster still. I think Brunswick stuff is better in oil, and Brunswick stuff handles volume better, and Storm stuff handles friction better. Because the Storm stuff is just a little iffy, lazy, wiggly in oil. The Brunswick stuff will dig and pick up. Sometimes it's just a little too diggy and a little too pick-uppy. And so if you have harder friction, you have more friction, the Storm stuff is not quite as violent off of the friction. But this ball, I think, is just in outer limits territory. It's a very good, solid ball, but there's nothing. Again, it's a little cleaner and sharper beyond infinity. It's virtually right on top of the outer limit. I think the outer limits is a little stronger overall. The Violent Collisions is a great ball, but it just has no personality, really. God, the Wicked Collision's still on here. Was that a June release or something? I can't remember.
Wicked was after the Violent for sure.
Yeah, the Wicked. Well, the Violent was very, very. This is one of those that was. I think the Violent actually came out last year. Now that I think about it, it was just in with. No, I haven't said the Optimum Idol Pearl is too new.
Scorpion Strike. It was July 7th.
Okay, so the Wicked can definitely fit here. I think the Violent actually came out last year, so we might have to just leave that off of the. But no, the Optimum Idol Pearl is not. It's too new.
Violent was December 23.
Okay, Violent was December 23, so it shouldn't even really be on the. Really shouldn't be on the list, but yeah, that's where it would fit. It's just we got it with some of the earlier stuff in the year, and there's just nothing special. It's a great solid ball. There's just nothing special about it. Nope. One of the other. So I'll go back through the spiel again for those that are watching at the moment. So if I have already done a report card for it, like I have for the 3.0. So there's the Summit Peak, Absolute Power, Widow 3.0 already got report cards earlier this year, so I wasn't going to double up on those, even though it did come out this year. Like the Absolute Power and the Summit Peak, I wasn't going to put those back on here since I already did, since I actually got to report cards for those. And then if I didn't review the ball like most of the Motive catalog, if I didn't give it a review, it's not getting a report card. And if it came out within the last 2 months, it's just still a little too fresh, a little too new to really have a good idea or to kind of put my finger on it, so to speak. So yeah, the Violent Collision really shouldn't be on the list, but that's about where it would be anyway. I just kind of got... we did a review for it this year, and so it was a little... didn't quite have enough time to vet everything here. The Wicked Collision is very interesting. Troublemaker Pearl didn't do a review on it, so nope. The Wicked Collision is actual dog water with the box polish on it, but you take the polish off, and it is insanely good. It's one of those that's up in... it's a DV8 ball, and it again is a kind of dark, and it's got purple in it, almost purple, but it's legit. Like, I think it's right up under here, under the the Archetype hybrid. You could argue with me sticking it like right there. Might leave it right there, but the Wicked Collision is very, very good. I think it's going to be slept on just because it's a DV8 ball and it looks awful with the box shine on it. It's kind of like the clone, actually. Like, the clone was awful with the box shine on it, but you put some surface on it. It's just amazing. Same thing with the Wicked. Totally different ball once you take that shine off. And it's good. It's very, very good. Kind of like it's kind of got that climbing. It almost reacts like a radical ball. It's got that. It's a little faster though. I think it's in radical conspiracy territory. It's that same climbing archy type of thing. It's like an earlier, smoother reverb. It's going to get lost in the shuffle because it says deviate on it, but it's good. Random question: is the Roto Grip stand? Why did they not have new HP2 balls? I have no idea what they're doing up there. They outside of like the Attention Star and a few things the last couple months. I don't know. I don't know how the HP2 stuff doesn't sell, because it is like the best outside of like the Vibe line. It is the best performance to price category on the market, period. I've said that for years and years. Always banger stuff in the HP2 line. And I just, the hypes didn't sell. And I can kind of understand why the hype line didn't sell, because they were so close to the hustles that the hyped balls might have just killed the HP2 line, because they were so close. A hype and a hustle, same thing, because they used the same covers, and the hyped core was only marginally stronger than the hustle core. There just wasn't enough separation between them, and a hustle's got enough brand name power that if it's anything is remotely, that's why we have no burners. That's why we have no electrifies. So they don't have any hotline stuff, and they don't have any of that stuff in the 900 Global line either, because the hustles just obliterate everything else around them. So yeah, the hypes were good. It just, they're too close to the hustles, and the hustle just has the name power. So what would be a good ball up from the Hitter Pearl? Vaporize. What balls used to be in the HP2? The Wrecker was one of the big ones that they used to have in the HP2. The Show Off. They had the Winners, which the Winners weren't really that great. But the HP2 line just used to be banger after banger after banger. Just really, really good stuff in the HP2 line for a long time. And the Hype Solid was very good. It's just a Hustle X-Ray is the same ball. So Sub-Zero Forge is way too new to talk about it yet. And yeah, the electrifies were good. It's just the hustles were better. Same zone. So that's Storm's not even competing with themselves, because they know that the hustles have it wrapped up, And so there, I can at least appreciate that they're like, okay, well, we're just not going to compete with ourselves. That's kind of dumb. Like some of this other stuff that some of these other companies, or some of the Brunswick companies, it's just like, well, we're going to put this out because we have to put this out, but it's just kind of random. It's like a Chill Pearl or a Pure Madness or an Outer Limits Pearl or a whatever else. It's like, we're just putting this out because we kind of have to put it out, but it doesn't really make any sense. Storm at least is not putting out electrifies or burners because the Hustles just have that on lockdown. There's no sense in competing with themselves. So yeah, the Rumble and the Shatter. What was the other one? There was another one that was the Hysteria was a HP 3 ball. I'm trying to think of one. The Outcry was an HP 2 ball. The Outcry was amazing. Let me see if I can pull up Bowl. If you want a good resource, it's Bowl, BOWWWL.com. Let me see if I can punch in HP2 and get nothing found for HP2. Bowling ball database. Let me see. Let's look at Rotogrip. Symmetric. Rotogrip Symmetric. US discontinued. All right. Now, this list doesn't go back as far as I thought. Wow. Okay, so never mind on that site. It sucks. Let me go to, what's the other one? Oh, crap. I can't remember what it, but it had freaking everything. Oh, God. We used to do reviews on it, too, but it didn't count. It didn't count anymore because it just kind of a internet bowling database. Anyway. Yeah, Hectic was an HP2 ball. Yeah, the MVPs. Right, I mean, the original MVP, we used to joke that was like the first HP 5 ball. Yes, they did discontinue the USA. No, bowling this month. I would have to have like probably a membership or something to get in there. But yeah, the show off and the all out show off were HP2. I think it was the earlier run inks were the best ones. The San Antonio one was okay, but then when they went back to Utah, they were also kind of okay. Just the original, the first couple years of the ink were the best ones. All right, so let's kind of the show off was actually Microtrax. They had a frickin' Microtrax ball in the HP2 line. No, it 1-2-3 bowl. That's what it is. 1-2-3 bowl. That's what it is. All right, let me see here. HP2. 12 results. The Devour, the Uproar, the Wreckham, the Wrecker, the Wreckham, and I think there was a Solid Wreck something. But yeah. The Devour, what was the other? The Devour, the Uproar. There was something else in there too. But man, if you go back and if you can find that list, like it's just banger after banger after banger after banger. There was another kind of orange one like the Uproar, I think, that was a solid. It wasn't the Devour. Gosh, I can't remember. Anyway, we're dragging them out now. So, Excel. I don't know that I can put it in S tier, but it's really, really good. This is one of the I think that the Attention Star and the XL are like the best SPI balls of the year. We'll have to so far. The Phase AI actually looks good. That's not everything. I can't find a list that's everything. The Rumble, I think, the Rumble was. But Outcry, the MVP, just the MVP. The hybrid MVP was the MVP. So yeah, the XL is up there. I think I might even have to put it above the Archetype hybrid, and it probably belongs in low S tier because the XL and the Attention Star. I think are the best two that they put out in the first half of the year. The Ion Max might be ball of the year though, because the Ion Max is legit. Yeah, no, the HP2 line had some bangers. It just haven't recently, and they did like the winter line wasn't that great. But man, they had some super good ones back in the day, and I just can't find a complete list for some reason. And Storm's website won't even have them all. Unfortunately, I don't think it goes that far back. But yeah, the XL, a couple of the best one, the Optimum really, but it's just I think the Optimum is just basically the original Idol again with AI. That's basically what it is, and so of course it was going to be good. The XL is the truth though. Exponent Pearl, this is another weird one that I think is just literally right on top of the Arctic vibe. They're basically the same ball, way overshooting their price point. I'm going to give the nod to the Arctic because I think it's just slightly the better ball. But they're so on top of each other. Flip a coin, buy one of them. I think they're the same price, or they're really well. I think the Exponent Pearl is a little bit more, but it's like $10 or $15. It's nothing that I really care about. But it's way stronger than it's supposed to be, and it's crazy, so much stronger than the original Exponent. It just doesn't even make any sense. Like the Exponent Pearl is a baby exotic gem. It just hooks. Just hooks. It's crazy. Yeah. Somebody else asked if I control F the chat. Do you want to rate? No, the Vaporize is too new. I personally, a biased person, and we can talk. I just didn't have them in here because they're not. It's a little too early to officially rank or rate them because they just haven't been out long enough. So anything within the last 2 months was not going to get covered in this. Anything I already did a report card for earlier in the year, which wasn't a whole lot of balls, but it was a couple. And then anything that I didn't actually review. So like most of the motive stuff, we didn't actually review them. So I'm not going to give them a report card. So yeah, unfortunately, there's a lot of, and man, I would love to have had one of those Sub-Zero forges. So yeah, and this is crazy, actually crazy. So let me read what this says on the website, since this is one of the very few balls that they actually, one of the very few 900 global balls where they actually explain what the cover is. So yeah, Reserve Blend 702 Pearl. Will provide you with great length through the front of the lane. This cover was crafted after hours of testing and R&D to be the cleanest cover in the 900 global line. Not remotely close. It's one of the Exponent Pearl is one of the earliest, strongest balls that SPI makes right now. Just period. So many bowlers tell us that their center doesn't put out any oil. This will be the premier option within the 900 global line to attack those lighter oil conditions and or beat up lane surfaces. Calling this a light oil ball or clean remotely is about as ludicrous as saying that as Motive saying that the Venom Shock is a light to medium oil ball. It's completely laughable. Completely laughable. But yeah, it's just all right. So now that we got everything on the board, let's talk about moving some things, shuffling some things. I see that a little disappointed with the Ion position on the list. And this there's a couple of them that are just the Ion's where it's at because it is absolutely complete dog water for what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be benchmarky, be able to, reinventing the benchmark. It's supposed to be in Obsession Tour, Envy Tour, Black Venom kind of territory. It's allergic to oil. It is extremely skid flippy. It is a frickin' sailboat. It goes 80 feet, but my God, is it a house shot monster. So that's why it's in B, because it is like it's like the lightning blackout's just down there because it's a $200 hustle. Honestly enough. The Ion Pro, for what it was designed to be, should be in like F or double Z tier or something. There should be like a million blank tiers between the Lightning Blackout and the Ion Pro for what it was designed to be. But it's like it's almost better than the Attention Star. It would like fit. It would be third in S tier on house shots. It's just dumb good on house shots, but it's absolutely not what that ball was designed to be. Yeah, the Ion is S and D at the same time. So yeah, that's just an absolute split the difference, because it really depends on what we're talking about. Plus it's $200. So yeah. Yeah. So what do we think needs to move? Because I have my eye on a couple that I think need to be moved somewhere, or that I would definitely not argue with anybody. So yeah, maybe so yeah, let's rethink positions within tiers, because in the S tier I just kind of kept adding stuff one behind the other. Is the Attention Star like the best ball on the market this year? I'm not sure. I think so, but it's definitely one of the top 3. Evoke is a B. I wouldn't disagree with that. All right. Yeah, I can be talked into putting the Optimum up in S. I believe that. And I can also be talked into putting the Evoke down in B, because even as I was talking about it later, it's not good enough on house shots. It's not really even remotely in play on house shots. So it just can't, because all these balls that are like in A or S can go both ways. I think that once they get down to limited to more, okay, well, this ball is definitely this direction or definitely this direction. So the Evoke in B, I can't argue with. I don't.
Random thought. Sorry. Were the Rockets in HP2?
Rockets were Storm.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
No, they were in the High Road line.
Okay, never mind. Disregard.
Fireball should be higher in the A category. I agree with that. The Pink Venom is a better house shot ball. Definitely agree with that. So yeah, got to be the effect ball of the year. Move Beyond Infinity up. Maybe. I think the Defenders in A in my books love the chuggy smooth stuff. Maybe. Beyond Infinity, I could see being higher in A tier. Got to be the effect. We need a rank list based on the shot. Yeah, well, and this is going to be the thing. I'm getting ready the last sport essentials that I did, and that will include everything. So because I haven't done one for this year, and so it'll include, there will be extra balls on the list. So even though I already did report cards for the Absolute Power and the Summit Peak, whatever else, everything that released since the last time I did a sport essentials, even the stuff that's just brand new that just came out, will be on that list. And we will rank them based on, sport essentials. It used to just be, well, these are the balls I think you should throw on sport, but then everybody, well, what about this ball? What about this ball? I have this ball. Can I use this? And so I'm like, okay, we're just going to rank balls based on how they perform on sport conditions, tougher conditions specifically. Now there's a million different sport conditions, and so some are going to be better on heavier, drier, whatever else, but just tougher patterns in general, whether they're for heavier oil, shorter oil, less oil, more oil, longer oil, whatever else, if they are in play somewhat on sport conditions. Like, I would not call, let me see, what's a ball on this? Yeah, the Ion Pro is going to be, I'm going to make a special tier for the Ion Pro on sport conditions, because it is the worst ball on the market, bar none, on tougher conditions. I would take the Lightning Blackout on something tough before I would take the Ion Pro. It looks awful on Chromium, and it's the only ball I've ever reviewed since we've been using Chromium for like 3 years now. The only ball, like, it looks worse than the Zen Master. It looks worse than what is just the worst ball I've ever reviewed on Chromium. Period. Not close. So, yeah. I feel like I've seen too many Arctic vibes for B tier. I can be talked into that. Let's go ahead and throw that up there to begin, or not to begin with, but in this group for the top half of the year, I do think the attention was Runaway the best ball. I don't think it was Runaway the best ball, but it's in the conversation. It's in the top 3. Did your GB5 calm? Yes, it did calm down some. It just actually I didn't ever throw it quite enough. I don't know why. I did take it out. It was just still, even when it calmed down, it was still just a little too strong overall for what I was throwing at the time. Now I think I could probably throw it. But I was also throwing my Covert Revolt at the time and some clean. I've been throwing cleaner and flippier stuff here lately. Yeah, Ion Pro. Great house shot ball. Vaporized Theorem. I don't know why I'm really gravitating intense mindset. I don't know why I'm gravitating towards like the really strong flippy ASIMs now, because that never used to be my jam. Attention Star is the best ball for everybody but me. The Hammer Effect, in my opinion, would be under the Lightning Blackout on D tier because it was just awful for me. The Pink Venom would be down there too because it's also bad. And and I'm actually in my Ion Pro review, I'm actually going to put the Pink Venom in there because as bad as the Pink Venom was for the Hypervenom, the Ion Pro was somehow worse. Like, at least the Hypervenom hooked. The Ion Pro just looked awful. So, somebody said Beyond Infinity, or somebody said Fireball should be higher in A. I can do that. I can put that up there. I think it's very close to the Cipher. It and the Cipher are like interchangeable. I think it was there. They were close to each other before I started adding other stuff in there. Beyond Infinity, I'm not sure I can put it higher in A tier because I think that it's just not quite as versatile as a Harsh Reality or a DNA Coil, Wicked Collision, Archetype Hybrid. It's in max bias territory where it's a very good ball reaction. It's just a little too slow. It's just a little on the slow side. It just doesn't quite make it there for me, I don't think. All right. Everything else definitely kind of belongs where, and once again, to kind of finish this up, just to explain why, because better is relative. It's just like golf clubs. A 5-iron is just not better than like if you have an entire club set, all the clubs are the same quality. Like I've got a set of clubs and they're all the same make and model. And it's just, I hit my 7-iron a lot. And so my 8-iron are really good for me. The longer irons are not so great, but they're the same quality. It's just, I don't use a 4-iron that much. I don't really hit it that great. And so better it's not like it's objectively a worse club. It's just a worse club for me. We're trying to be objective here and base this on usability, versatility, the range of bowler styles that's going to work for. Like the Attention Star can work for everybody. It can be high rev rates, low rev rates, high speed, low speed. It just fits in that perfect zone. And it's a solid price too. It's not, well, I think, no, it's in the HP4 line. So it's expensive, but it deserves its price tag. But it's a jack of all trades. It looks just as good on tough stuff as it does on easy stuff. It can handle longer patterns. It can handle shorter ones. It does so many things so well for so many people. But then you get down and you have something like a Pure Madness that's a little more niche. The Hater is a little more niche. The Chill Pearl is a dime a dozen type of ball reaction. The Harsh Reality is not a bad ball. It's just completely outclassed by every other ball it's competing with, even the Pure Madness. the Lightning Blackout, again, it's not a bad ball. It's just a $200 hustle. It's just outclassed by everything it's competing with, and it's like $50 or $60 more. So it just belongs down there on principle alone. So it's not like these are ranked in terms. Everybody wants, well, is this ball better than this ball? It's like, well, it's kind of relative. The Lightning Blackout may be one of the god ball of all time for you. And so this is not really a quality. This is not really a list built on quality. It's several different categories that you're kind of looking at. It's just like there's a lot of cars out there, like a car that's reliable, whatever else. It might get ranked really low just because it's not as good quality as something else. It's not as good for the money. It fails in this. It's behind in this. It's low tech. It doesn't have as many options as whatever else. It doesn't mean that it's like a junk car that's going to fall apart on you. And that's kind of what I'm getting to with this, is just better is completely relative. So just because a messenger is ranked higher than an Exponent Pearl doesn't mean the messenger is necessarily a better ball. So anyway, I've been rambling along long enough. We had a bunch of people show up, so I really appreciate that. If you like doing this, then we might keep doing this. Instead of doing like individual kind of one-off report cards so that you can see kind of at a glance how everything kind of stacks up or what I think about everything, instead of just having this separate video and this separate video and this separate video and whatever else. Now, I do get more views out of, if I would have just made 40 report cards, I would have gotten more views, but that's not really the point. It's very enticing, I'm not going to lie. But I thought this was great. And so if you like this is going to say, I'm already busy enough. This saves me a lot of time. This was fun talking to everybody. It always is when I do one of these. And so if you like doing this, then I'm game to just do one of these every 3 months or something like that and group stuff together a little bit better. But I don't know, it might happen next weekend because I'm busy doing stuff, but might do a sport essentials and catch that up next weekend. So, and then I've got another Sobcast that I want to get out there too, because I've got some more stuff to whine about. So anyway, that's gonna be it for this one. Again, I will try to go back and get timestamps. This is me, so I probably will not put timestamps on there. I'm not going to go back through a 2.5 hour live stream and put timestamps on stuff. You can just kind of click around and use the fast forwardy thing to, once it shows up on the list, then you can just skip around until you find me talking about it. I take 10 seconds to find the balls that you're after. So thanks a bunch, everybody, for hanging out. Oh crap, there's more stuff down here. I scrolled back up. Let me catch up with the comments here. Barf tier, yeah. Ion Max at S tier, while the pros at Boat Anchor. The Ion Max, I think, is the ball of the year. Like, I think it's better than the Attention Star. I feel like the Optimum Idol is an A tier. Sublime Focus is way better. I don't know about that. The Sublime Focus is awful at box. Absolutely wretchedly terrible with surface on it. But when you shine it up, it is S tier. Have an Arctic vibe, and that thing's a lot stronger than I ever expected. That's why it's kind of where it's at. It's a very good ball, but it's very poorly marketed, I think, kind of. It's just, if you have an ocean vibe and you're like, okay, I want something to go with that, the Arctic vibe is a million. It's an arrow and a half stronger than the ocean. So that's why it's kind of low A, and I had it in B tier the entire time because it's just way too strong for what it's supposed to be. D-Ron Booker won the Masters with the Attention Star. Yeah, that was really impressive. And yeah, and that's the thing, is the Masters was tough. And if the Attention Star can kill house shots and the Masters, like, I don't know what else you can say about it. Same with the Optimum Idol. Seeing as how the Widow 3.0 was B+, that's a fair point. Seeing as how the Widow 3.0 was B+, should anything move, so I would put that, well, and that's the other thing, is that I was going to try to be a little bit stingier with the stuff. The Widow on this list, I would honestly say that it's a little hard doing these lists, because with the report cards, there is no S tier for the report cards, so actually, the Widow 3.0 being a B+ on the regular report cards would make it an A+ on this list. And so I would absolutely put it up there with the XL and the Archetype Hybrid Hazmat Solid. So it would be everything. You just got to move everything like down one. So S tier on this is A, basically. So I think that if adjusting for what it should be, I think it fits with where it's supposed to be. If S was A instead. Fireball and Cipher, basically, do you want a Pearl or Solid? Yeah, that's why those are right next to each other. I think that's absolutely that's also a very good point. Hope the new Motive Raptor is going to be good. Motive has this thing where they say that stuff's going to be really flippy, and then it's just not. It's flippy for a Motive ball, but it's like not actually flippy. This one looks like it's going to be flippy for a Motive ball, but not like actually flippy. I think Brunswick has the corner on that market right now. Brunswick's making the fastest stuff by a long shot. Which ball would fit as the half step up from the Tundra's Hypervenom range of ball? Well, the Hypervenom is like a full ball up from the Tundra. But if you're looking for a half step up from the Hypervenom, you're probably in like Black Venom or like Hazmat, original Hazmat territory, I think. I would say. Scorpion Strike. The Sublime Focus shape is just better for seeing the spot. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. The Sublime Focus definitely is firmer, but more back end doesn't necessarily mean like better. What do you think is a good step up from a 14-pound absolute power? Probably a DNA coil, actually. I think the DNA coil and the absolute power work very, very well together, just in general. So I would say a DNA coil. When you took the Wicked Shine off, what did you take it? Well, we took it to 1,000, but that's where Angel likes a lot of surface. It just looks really good for her. I would say most people should go like 2,000 or 3,000. I think 1,000 is too much for the vast majority of people out there. It works for Angel, but yeah. No bad products, only bad prices. Yeah. I just got on. I don't see a big Widow, Black Widow 3.0 or the Rattler Big Bite. Yeah, it's to go through it one more time. If I already did a report card on it, like I did for the Black Widow 3.0, it's not going to be on the list. And if it's been released in the last couple months, it's too new to really have a good read on it yet. So this is more like a first half of the year. And so, yeah, the last couple months worth of releases are intentionally missing. And then, of course, if we didn't do a review on it, like most of the Motive stuff, where I can't put it on the report card because I didn't throw it. So I didn't throw it, or we didn't make a video for it. So I don't know. But yeah, the last couple months worth of stuff is not going to be on here because it's just too new to have a actual decent read on yet. As much as it pains me to say, I think the max bias should go under the Evoke. I would not argue, especially since I moved the Evoke, I would not argue with that because I think the max bias is just a little too slow. So let's go ahead and do that. Of course, if I do that, and somebody said move the Beyond Infinity up, but I think it almost kind of fits in like, I don't know. It's a little better balance between slow and fast than the Evoke and max bias are. What makes you have the Messenger and Fireball above the Tundra Fire? Usability, the frequency of use. It's just the Tundra Fire is a light oil ball that's just not going to see near as much use. And so in terms of competing with everything else in its space, it holds its own very well. It's a very good light oil ball. It's just you're not going to use it very often. It just is very rarely a ball that's going to be in play. And so that's again why this isn't a quality list. It's not this is better quality of reaction. It's just there's several different things that go into this that's kind of hard to quantify, and it just takes too long to explain on a little 2-minute, 3-minute video. So it's very good. It gets high marks for what it's designed to do, for where it fits, how it competes with other stuff in where it fits at. It just, so if it was an individual thing, if it did get its own report card, it probably would have been a B. So it probably should be higher up there. It probably should be in the A tier. Realistically speaking, I can't really argue with that. So let's stick it up there because it really is a good ball. It's just you're not going to use it much. So, but you could make an argument for a lot of things on this list that way. Like the Lightning Blackout is not honestly a D tier ball reaction. It just is for the price. Sub-Zero's top of my wish list. Yes, we also, both of us would like a Sub-Zero. Thanks for hanging out. Catch up the earlier parts. I really want a Sub-Zero. Sport tier list is going to be really fun. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. We'll probably do that next week. It'd be cool to do these bulk ones, but deep dive into those super popular ones like the Ion Pro, Ion Max, and Vaporize. Yeah, and there's some of these that I talked a little bit longer about. A lot of them I probably shouldn't ramble on as long about, but I like this. Also wouldn't mind if you had a chart at the end of report cards if you make them. Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all, actually. Have like a running chart, kind of. It might be a little much, but just for reference on how it stacks up against other stuff, other than just okay, so I called this one a B+, but then you'd have to go watch every single other video to figure out how everything else measures up, which yeah, I would love the views, don't get me wrong, but I also understand from a viewer perspective that it's like, okay, well, now I've got to watch this 2-minute video and this 2-minute video and this 2-minute video and this 2-minute video to find out what a chart could tell me in 5 seconds. So not a bad idea. I will never buy a ball with lightning in the name because lightning never strikes twice. Hilarious. Nope, the Summit Ascent is too new for me to rate. So that comes later. How come there's no swag balls on this list? Oh, that should be obvious. I forgot swag existed. Man, yeah. I really want a Sub-Zero. They're expensive, and I'm not much into paying a company to promote their product, but I really want a Sub-Zero.
You can check that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, don't see the Absolute Power Summit Peak. I actually did report cards on those earlier in the year, so I already did those actually, along with the Black Widow 3.0. So been struggling with my Widow 3.0. It burns up very quick on the house shot. Yeah, it's just mine was, I really liked the 3.0. It just couldn't. It was just too strong. I just could never get it to. I liked the shape. I liked how it reacted. I just couldn't get it down the lane. And if I could get it down the lane, I couldn't get it back up the hill well enough. I'm sad the XL didn't match up for me. And I've got several balls on this list. I really wanted to like that Hypervenom because it's pink and it was awful. The Hammer Effect is awful for me too. The Beyond Infinity wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. The Evoke is not. It's really good on tough stuff, but I just don't see tough stuff a whole lot. It's just not near as good on a house shot as I wanted it to be, so I'm disappointed. But anyway, all right, now that I caught up with the comments that I was stuck on, the slider bar wasn't moving. Now I'm done. So thanks everybody for hanging out. Sport Essentials stream coming soon. Another Sobcast, whatever else. Once again, if you're watching this on playback and you somehow made it this far, thank you. I appreciate it. We will see y'all. Yeah. I had to look pretty, Cam. So thanks, y'all. We'll